tell, I am here with my friend Cydney today, and this is my first episode in, I guess, what we're going to call my interview series, since we don't know what else to call it. So Cydney is a really good friend of mine, and I always thought that she was extremely motivational to me, extremely inspirational. She has gone through a lot, and she continues to go through a lot. And so when I had this idea to do this, she was the first person that popped into my mind. But just an overview of Cydney.
We got a ride, we got the night, I got the bottle, you got the light.
She honestly does it all. And so I guess we'll go ahead and just jump right into it. But the biggest thing that seems to affect your life right now and throughout your life has been diabetes.
Yeah.
So you have type 1 diabetes, but can you tell everybody who's watching the difference between type 1 and type 2?
So type 1 diabetes is where your immune system attacks the insulin-producing cells in your pancreas. So those are the beta cells. So it not only attacks them, but it completely destroys them. And then when you eat carbs and that turns into glucose, your body doesn't know how to react to that. And so that's what causes your blood sugars to go up, and then that's why you need the insulin to act like a pancreas. And so type 2 is, I would say that the body is still attacking those cells, but they're not completely destroyed. So you're still able to make some insulin, and a lot of times, so I would say the biggest difference is that type 1 is it's not preventable. So I always say it's like you just drew the short stick. They don't know what causes it.
When did you find out that you had type 1?
So I was 4, and we were actually, we had gone to Texas to see some family, and we were flying home, and I don't remember it that well, but my mom told me that I had to pee a lot, and I was super irritable, I was super hungry, I was just weak, and they could just tell something's not right. And so they took me right into the doctor, and they checked my blood sugar, and I was 600. So that told them.
And for everybody watching, 600, is that high?
Yes, high.
Compared to
Sorry,
what's
I'm
normal?
just talking.
It's fine.
I'm just talking.
It's good.
So a normal, somebody without diabetes, I would say that a normal blood sugar would be 80 to 120.
And you were 600.
And I was 600.
So you were 6 times what a high normal would be.
Yes, exactly. Okay. So I was super, super high, and instantly that told them hey, she has diabetes. Got it when I was 4, and I'm 21, so 17 years, yeah.
So you've had it your whole life?
Yeah, my whole life. And as hard as it has been, everybody's wow, that sucks. I am grateful that I got it when I did, because I don't know life any other way. Right. So think about somebody who gets it at 15, and you're in the middle of going to high school, you're going out with friends, you're drinking, okay, drinking,
Yeah.
on the low. But, it's you're doing all these things, and you're not thinking about, your pancreas.
Right.
And so it's a complete
Most 15-year-olds don't even know what your pancreas does.
Yeah, they don't even know what it is. Yeah. And so I feel I'm super grateful, because I don't know life any other way, because I feel people struggle a lot more when they have to make that lifestyle change when they've known life before it, and then you end up missing life before it, and that can make it hard. So yeah.
So what parts of your life has it shaped and changed the most? And I say change very loosely, because you said, you've had it your whole life. So how have you noticed that it's impacted your life the most?
Gosh, I was thinking about this question because she sent me them before we did this. I would say it affects every single part of my life. So I can't really pinpoint one specific area of my life that it affects the most. I would say more than anything, I would say that it affects my mental health. Because when you are, I don't know about anybody else, but I am definitely a type A. I'm a control freak, and so to have a disease that a lot of times you don't have control over, no matter how much you try to control it, that's very hard, and it makes me anxious when my blood sugar is high, because I feel there's bricks on my chest, and I can't breathe right, and my head hurts, and so it's just, yeah, my mental health has definitely been affected.
The next, what does an average day with type 1 look like?
So I would say that there is no average day. I was trying to think of this, and I was wow, there really is no average day, because each day is so different from the next. One day I could have blood sugars that are 80 to 100 all day, and I feel great, and I feel awesome, and my body responds to the insulin and all of that fun stuff. And then the next day I could be 200 and I just have to keep giving myself insulin and like I can't get it down. So I would say there's no really average day. So if it's high, then I just have to like react those ways and figure out maybe not why it's high, because sometimes you don't know why it's high, but you just react to that high with insulin and water. And then if it's low, then that would mean that I need to eat carbs, which would mean just like juice or something like quick carbs. So like candy. So like you're not going to want to eat, you know what I mean? I don't really know. Like you're a nutritionist, you know all this stuff. But like you're going to want to eat like those simple carbs, I guess, that are going to like hit your system faster.
Right.
Yeah. So like fruit, like sometimes I'll do like an apple or Skittles, you know, like two totally different.
Like with sugar.
Yeah, with sugar, right.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it's normal, then I get to go work out. And then... yeah, like
all day, or you just
all day
just playing with that,
all
just
day
checking your sensor. Can I eat? Can I not eat?
Yeah.
What can I eat?
Right. But yeah, no, an average day is definitely just checking your numbers and responding accordingly.
So like you really can't set up your day
Mm-mm.
because you might or might not be able to work out, like you said, because of your blood sugars.
Right.
If it's high, you can't work out.
Right.
If it's not high, you can work out, but then you have to deal with it possibly becoming high after, right?
Or dropping after. Yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
diabetes is so crazy because it's like sometimes, like if I work out, I'll go super high after, or sometimes I'll drop after. So it's always like, oh, like what's gonna happen, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, no, I can't plan my day, which is hard for a person like me.
Can you think of an exact time that you really struggled with your diabetes and how you got through that time?
So I can think of a lot of times that I've struggled with my diabetes. And I would say that in the past, just because since I've had my daughter, I've had terrible insulin resistance. And so that just means that when I give myself the insulin, my body doesn't like respond to it the way that it should. And so that has been very hard. And I would say in the past 2 years, I definitely have responded to that with just like anger, and I'll get like really angry and I'll start crying and I'll lock myself in a room and I'll like lash out at my boyfriend. Like it's just like not a good situation. And I would say within the past 2 months, I have really tried to just like change my mindset. Like when I have a high blood sugar to like, okay, like I have this for a reason, and God does not give anybody anything that they cannot handle. And so even though it's like really, 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 really crappy, I have it for a reason. And in my belief, I am supposed to like use my struggles and my trials and tribulations with my disease to help other people. So I can think of like yesterday, for example, or just like all week. All week I've been like having really high numbers and just having to like keep giving myself insulin. And it like makes me not feel good physically and mentally. And so even though I've been crying this week, and even though it's been like really hard, I just keep telling myself, you have this for a reason, you're going to help people. So yeah, I would just say, and like really just like trying to breathe, because you know, everything affects type 1 diabetes, everything. Like your hormones, your stress, like if you've slept, like everything affects it. And so I'm like, okay, my blood sugar is already high, and I'm sitting here and I'm stressing about it being high.
It's going to keep going.
It's going to keep going high, or it's not going to, you know, respond to what I need it to, which is hard to say to somebody, like, stop being anxious, stop stressing out, you know, because you're like, okay, thank you. Like,
Yeah.
I'll just stop being stressed or stop being anxious. But just like I've really tried to practice like breathing and just telling myself that I have it for a reason, and that as long as I'm doing the best that I can, then like, what else can I do? You know, like, what else can I do but just try my best?
That's like beautiful.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody needs to hear that, honestly, because no matter like what your trials and tribulations are, like you are really given it for a reason, and you're so right. God never gives you anything that you can't handle. Like,
100%.
You couldn't have said it any better.
Yeah.
That was like, that was beautiful. I think that dives into the mental health aspect of your life a lot. So you often talk about mental health. If you guys don't follow her on Instagram, I'll put her Instagram name right here. But you often talk about mental health on your Instagram and on your Facebook, and how you've struggled with anxiety and depression throughout your entire life. How have you dealt with that in the past, and how do you continue to deal with that?
Okay, so this was like a really real, raw question, and I was like, should I answer it honestly? But I think that it's important to answer stuff honestly and just like be real and raw, because hopefully it can help you guys not feel so lonely. So I would definitely say in the past, I dealt with my anxiety and depression by self-harm. And
I saw the semicolon just now.
yeah, that's funny. So I definitely dealt with self-harm, and sometimes a lot of people like don't understand it. They're like, why would you do that to yourself, you know? And I didn't understand it. Like sometimes I was like, why am I doing this to myself? And the only explanation that I can give is that when I was so anxious, it was like my head was just like, you know, like going so fast, so like it was like blurry. Like that's the only way that I can describe it. It's like my mind was blurry because it was going so fast. Or I was so sad that like I couldn't, you know, I don't know, like everything was just so overwhelming that it's like if I harmed myself, everything was quiet. Everything was quiet in my head because I wasn't focusing on anything in my head, I was focusing on that. Yeah, I would say that that's one of the biggest ways that I dealt with it. And I would also say that I have super bad anxiety about my body and like my body image. And so, and I still do struggle with it, like the mindset of eating disorders, of, you know, just like restricting and having that control, because a lot of times you feel like your life is like out of control. And so if you can control your eating, like I'm going to control my eating, and I'm going to be really good at controlling my eating.
I can't control anything if that's one thing that I can control.
That's one thing that I can control, right. And so those are definitely some of the ways that I've dealt with it in the past, and obviously those are not healthy coping mechanisms. And I would say now I finally just like realized like I need help, you know, like, and it's okay to like need help. And I realized that mental health, if you have something mentally, like a mental health issue, it's literally a chemical imbalance in your brain. So it's not anything that you can control. Like you can't control if your brain is chemically imbalanced, right? But you can control like asking for help and being like, hey, like I don't feel right, like I'm anxious. And I also just realized too, I was like, I don't want my child to grow up and see her mom harming herself. You know what I mean? Like I just don't want her to have to see that. And I'm not going to hide my struggles from my child, because I feel like your struggles are what make you you. And I don't want to like hide anything from my child like that. But
and hopefully she can
learn from it. Yeah, exactly. But I would say now, I would say, I don't know, I think in like February of this year, I went to a psychiatrist and I got put on medication, which is kind of hard for me to accept, because I was like, I don't need medication. And I feel like so many people feel like that, like I don't need medication, I'm fine. Or, you know, people feel like if they take medication, then they're crazy. Or if they admit that they have a mental health problem, then they're crazy. Or people are going to look at them a certain way. And it's like at the end of the day, like who cares? Like if you don't feel good, then just say like, hey, I need help. And if you need to take medicine, then take the medicine. Because I mean, like I couldn't function without like the medicine, because I was to the point where I was just fighting with Junior all the time. I was picking fights. I was crying all the time. I was yelling. It was just like out of control. And so like my brain is more chemically balanced now. And I won't say that when you take medicine, it just completely takes everything away. Like I still really deal with the anxiety a lot, but it makes it more easy to deal with. So like if I'm in like a really high stress situation, or really, I was like, oh my God, who's in the house? Yeah, and so, it doesn't take the anxiety away, and it won't like ever take fully the depression away, but it just makes those stressful times, those sad times more easy to deal with, and you're more rational in like your head, you know? Because I get like super overwhelmed. So, like even with like the medicine, I get super anxious and super overwhelmed easily, just as a person in general. But I'm able to like sit and be like, okay, like I can do this. Like I'm really anxious, but I can do this, and I'll get through it, and it'll be cool, you know? So, yeah,
So like to recap all of that, you really didn't have the coping mechanisms before, and then you really did decide, you really had to like take a moment and be like, listen, there is an actual problem, and you were okay with seeking help.
Right.
How long did it take you to be comfortable with accepting and telling other people, I mean, maybe not the world, but like even family and stuff, like that you were getting help? Because I know that's a huge obstacle for a lot of people.
Right. So my mom has always been super, super supportive, and I've always gone to counseling off and on. But I would say, so like I've always been able to like tell my mom like, hey, like there's something not right, and I've been able to go to her But yeah, a lot of people don't have that support, and they don't, like, their families will be like, oh, you're crazy, like, what are you talking about, like, you don't need help, or, you know, like, they'll be shamed, or like, don't believe in it. Yeah. And I would say that first of all, if you don't have friends in your life that you can go to and say, hey, like, I'm struggling and something's not right, then you need to surround yourself with people like that, or you need to, like, kick those friends to the curb who aren't like that, because at the end of the day, like, yeah, it can be, like, really scary and feel, like, shameful to say that, like, you need help. And I would also say that, like, there's so many resources online to get help, and there's so many places to go to get help. Like, you can go to a doctor's office and be like, look, I need a counselor, or look, there's something not right, like, refer me. Like, there's so many ways that you can seek help. And I think a lot of times too, people are afraid to seek help because they're like, oh my god, people are gonna know I'm on medicine. And it's like, no, like, people don't have to know that. Like, they don't have to know that. Like, I choose to share that because that's what I choose to do. Like, I choose to just be open and be like, yeah, whatever, I'm on medicine and I need it. But some people, that's not how it is, and that's okay. And you don't have to share that with anybody. But at the end of the day, like, that's your mental health, right? And, like, you want to feel good. So if it means taking medicine and seeing a counselor, then, like, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, at the end, like, I don't mean to be blunt, but, like, get over it. Yeah. Get over it. Like, if you're feeling like crap, then, like, do something about it, you know? And yeah, like, just get over it. Like, you want to feel good, and there's nothing wrong with you because you have a mental illness. Like, you're not any less of a person if you have a mental illness, or, you know, like, you struggle with your emotions. Like, there's nothing wrong, but yeah, you just gotta, like, seek out. You have to just ask for help.
If you're struggling, literally listen to her advice. I'm not gonna get emotional, but she really is the reason that I started going to counseling, because I realized that there's, like she said, absolutely nothing wrong with it. And It's so true. And if you're struggling, then by not getting help, the only person that you're hurting is yourself. I don't mean to. No. She's so right. I just couldn't agree more. And I had never actually thought that until I had listened to her story and her struggles. So it's really inspiring. Right. And a lot of people need to hear that, and I need to hear that too. Right. The next topic that I'm going to talk about is something that she's a decent friend of mine, and I actually don't know a whole lot about it, and about her life. So, but I do know that her dad passed away. Can you talk about that and how it has affected you losing a loved one?
So my dad passed away when I was 11, so in 2008, and he was actually 3 years before that, he was diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer. And so that was, at the time, I was so young that I understood, okay, my dad's sick. And then I realized he's gonna die. But again, like, you're young, so, like, I don't know, you just don't, like, I don't know, it doesn't click that, like, oh wow, like, he's actually gonna die. Like, you know, you just don't think that. And I would say that I have definitely dealt with a lot of anger, because, so my dad was super, super fit. He was super into fitness, took really amazing care of himself, like, just a really, you know what I mean, just, like, really took care of himself. And so he started feeling, like, exhausted, like, super tired, super exhausted, to, like, the point where he'd have to, like, shut his door in his office and, like, take a nap, you know, like, during the day, because he was so tired. And he went to his physical and told his doctor, like, look, dude, I'm not feeling good, like, there's something, you know, like, I'm really tired. And his doctor did the physical, and he said, oh, like, you know, you're fine, and you're so healthy that we're not going to do the prostate check. And so then I would say, like, a month later, my dad was loading the snowblower into the back of his truck to go get serviced, and his shoulder, like, gave out. So they went to the ER, and they were, like, doing testing, and the doctor came in, and he said, you know, we don't quite know what it is, but it's not cancer, don't worry. But we don't know what it is yet, but it's not cancer. And so then, like, they didn't even get home from the ER, and they called, and they said that he had stage 4 prostate cancer. And so I, for the longest time, held a lot of anger, because I'm like, wow, like, if that doctor would have just done the test, and, like, would my dad still be here? So there's all of, like, these what ifs, and, like, I get super angry about it. And yeah, like, it was just hard, because you don't wish for somebody to die, but when you, like, see them struggling that bad, you're like, wow, Like, I remember having thoughts like, I wish you would just die because you're struggling so bad, you know, and like you're in so much pain. And I can remember it was like the last day of 5th grade, and I went home, and at this point he was in hospice, so that's just like end of life care, you know, just like keeping you comfortable. And we had a hospital bed in the living room, and my brother was with my dad because my mom she had to work. And so me and my sister went home, and I said, oh, like, I'm gonna go take Jenna to go to the pool because we lived right across the street from a rec center. And I said, okay, Daddy, I love you, I'll see you later. And he just looked at me, like he didn't respond to me. And I was like, I love you, like, hello. And he like got irritated with me. He was like, I love you. And I didn't realize it then, but he couldn't get the words out. And so I remember calling my mom, and when we got to the rec center, and I was like, you know, Dad's acting like really weird. And I told her, and she was like, oh shit, and she hung up the phone. And that was just him getting septic, and by the time we got home from swimming, he was in a coma, and like that was it, you know. So I have a lot of anger around it because I'm like, wow, like I wouldn't have had to deal with that. My mom wouldn't have had to deal with that. Like he would still be here, and like there's all these like what ifs, you know, like
If that doctor would have just done his job.
if he would have just done his job, you know, like that's, so I do have a lot of anger around it, and I would say that like that's definitely affected me that way.
The next question that we can go to after that is, how did you deal with it after it happened, and what has that progression been like dealing with it till now?
I would say after it happened, like I said, I was still young, to be honest with you, and it was just such like a shock to me. I didn't really understand any of it, and so I wouldn't say that like I really like openly grieved. And there's no right or wrong way to grieve, in my opinion. Everybody grieves their own way. And I would say that I was like, okay, like I'm fine, like I'm doing better, and like it never goes away. But I always say that like it gets easier to deal with as like time goes on. And I would say that it's been way more of a struggle now that I have a child, because I know how, like my dad was like a dope ass dude, you know, like he was dope, like he was awesome. And so I'm like, wow, like my kid's never gonna get to experience that. And so that's like really hard to deal with. So I'm like finding myself in like a new season of grief, which is like weird, you know, because you're like, oh, like that was in 2008 and it's 2018, so that's like 10 years, you know. So I'm like, oh wow, like I'm not over it, but you know, like I'm good, like I'm celebrating his life, like I'm not sad about it. But yeah, no, it's just, I don't really know, like I dealt with it then how I knew how, and now just I feel like as, you know, different seasons of my life go on, I like deal with it in like different ways. And definitely like now it's always those like what if questions, and it's very hard now not to get angry, because I realize as I get older, like there's going to be experiences in my life where I wish he was there and he can't be, you know, like when I had a baby, or when I get married, you know, like just like little things, not even like little things, like those are big things, you know, but like things like that. So yeah, it's been hard to deal with that, but I've always said that I just have to like celebrate his life, because there's going to be times, like everybody's human, like when you lose somebody, there's going to be times when you're super sad and you're like, why, like why, and like you're never going to know why, and you're always like, you're going to like sit there and you're going to like dwell on like the sad, like man, like they died, or you know, like man, they were super sick. And it's hard to like remember somebody like that when like you watch them be sick for that long. It's very hard to like remember them not being sick. And everybody, like, it's not everybody dies that way, you know, like sometimes people lose somebody like, you know, sudden, and like, you know, so that's like a different type of grief too. But yeah, I would just say that like it just gets better over time, to be honest with you, and you just really have to learn to like celebrate the good parts in the life
And not focus on the bad parts.
because like think about it, like that person that you lost is so much more than the moment that they died. Like think about it, like for example, my boyfriend, he suddenly lost his brother 2 years ago, and he really struggles with that. And I'm like I know exactly where you're at, like I know the grief, I understand it. I always try to say like, okay, your brother created this awesome life. He had an amazing wife. They had 2 amazing, beautiful kids together. And like, they created this whole life and it was so beautiful and he did all those things. So it's like he's so much more than him dying. So, like, let's think about all those amazing things that he did and all those amazing things that he was, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes that could make it seem not so sad.
Way more manageable.
Yeah, like way more manageable, right? Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
That was beautiful. I don't even know what else to say that, like, really hit home. You really have been through so much.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, haven't we all though? You know?
Yeah.
Like, we all have. It's just like part of who we are.
Yeah. It makes you who you're supposed to be. Whew, all right. We're gonna kind of switch it up onto something a little less sad.
Yeah.
Even though that is extremely inspiring and so true, everything that you said. But like I said, Cydney is a mom to a beautiful 2-year-old. She is so sweet. My daughter loves to play with her. But at what age did you find out that you were pregnant?
So I was 18, and I was 18. I was super young. And it was so weird. Like, sometimes, I don't know, like, maybe it was just me, but I had a very weird experience. Like, I knew that I was pregnant because I was up in my boyfriend's dorm, because he went to UNC, and so I was up at his dorm, and we were getting ready for the day, and he said, hey, don't forget to take your birth control. And something in my mind said, do not take your birth control. And I was like, what? Like, it was so clear in my mind, do not take your birth control.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't take my birth control that day because something in my mind told me not to take it. And so I said, okay, like, when I get home tonight, I'll take a test, but it'll be negative, like, no worries, it'll be fine. So I get home and I pee on the stick, and I'm just like sitting there doing my thing and waiting 5 minutes, and it comes up positive, and I was like, oh my God, like, I'm pregnant. And so it was just like, I knew.
Right.
Like, I don't know, it was just like I knew, but
Before you even really knew.
before I even really knew,
How the
yeah.
body
Isn't that
works
weird?
like that,
Yeah, super weird.
So how did your family react to you being pregnant at what society would consider such a young age?
My mom cried, and everybody made sure to tell me how they felt about me being pregnant. Everybody said, I'm disappointed, and I'm sad, and I'm not very happy, and I'm, and I was like, but you're not pregnant. Like, I'm pregnant, and
It's me.
It's me. Yes, I'm the one who's pregnant. And I had a couple family members tell me that I was going to be by myself, and I was going to be homeless, and I was going to be struggling for the rest of my life. And I was
Wow.
like, yeah, like, you know, and I was like, whoa, but I didn't ask you to raise my baby. I didn't ask you to pay my bills. I didn't ask you to give me a place to stay. Like, I didn't ask for any of that. I just told you I'm pregnant. So either support me or don't, but I don't care how it makes you feel, you know, because, like, it's not your body, and, like, you're not the one who's pregnant. Yeah, like, it's not your life. So yeah, it was negative, and it was hard to deal with, and sometimes, I don't know, I feel like, you know, that's not how my family, like, saw my life going. But the thing is I'm sure everybody else, our parents, they didn't see their life the way that it is now.
Right.
You know, like, you can't plan it. So, yeah.
Everybody's life isn't what
Yeah.
it's supposed to be
Yeah.
at some point or another.
Right.
How long did it take for those family members who were so negative at first to, like, change their tune and be like, hey, it's gonna be okay?
So my mom got on board, like, pretty quick. And then I would say, my dad's family, for the most part, the family that he has that lives here in Colorado, I've always been, like, very distant from them, just from a bunch of stuff that happened while my dad was sick. And yeah, like, they just made me feel very judged, and I invited them to the baby shower. They didn't want to come to the baby shower. They didn't text me when my daughter was born, and you know what I mean? Just, like, things like that. So, I mean,
So it didn't get better?
no, in some situations it didn't. But
What about your mom's family?
So my grandma was actually the one that said that I was going to be left and I was going to be struggling my whole life. So now she, like, sees how good I'm doing, and I'm like, part of me's like, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know, whatever. But, whatever. But I think that, like, she sees how, like, fun and what a fun personality Adelina is, and I think, I don't know, I think sometimes, like, my grandma's lonely, and so to, like, have something positive like that in her life, you know, I think Adelina's something super positive. Like, I love my kid, and I think she's amazing and positive and such a blessing, so, you know.
So do you think that they have, like,
Definitely.
come around by now, but
Definitely.
it did take, not during the pregnancy, but after you had Adelina.
Like, I
So-
almost had to, like, prove myself, which I feel like I shouldn't have had to do.
Right,
But,
because your family.
yeah, like, your family, but yeah, like, I had to prove myself and show them, like,
That's hard.
yeah.
But your mom did support you.
Yes.
Not long. I mean, she was upset when she first found out.
Yeah, she cried, but,
Okay.
and I think she cried too because me and Junior, we only knew each other. So I got pregnant in February. We started talking to each other the October before, and we were only like dating since January.
So that's kind of why she was
yeah,
like.
and like I'm looking back now. At first I was like, really, Mom, like just leave me alone, like, you know. But now I'm like, wow, like if my daughter.
Right. Now that you're a mom, you put yourself in
like,
your mom's
oh my
shoes.
God, if she was dating a dude for 2 weeks, 6 weeks, and then got pregnant, yeah, I'm gonna be scared, you know. But I've been totally blessed with how Junior's reacted to it.
Right. And I don't even have this on my questions or whatever, but like Junior, which is her boyfriend.
Yeah. He better put a ring on it soon.
if you're watching, you heard that. But how did he react, and what was it like, and how has it been with him?
So Junior was not like on board. Not that like I don't know, he just never imagined himself having kids, and we kind of discussed, like I had asked him, I was like, so what would happen if like I got pregnant? Like I wasn't trying to like get pregnant, I was just like, what would happen if I got pregnant?
Right, it was just like a conversation.
It was just a conversation, like what would happen, and he said, well, I wouldn't want you to keep it. And I didn't say anything, because I'm like, well, I'm not going to sit here and lie to him just to keep him around, so I didn't say anything. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, then if I got pregnant, like I'd be doing it by myself. So then I actually got pregnant, and my first thought was, okay, like he's going to leave me, I'm going to have to do this by myself. And
when you found out you were pregnant and you genuinely thought that he was going to leave, was it like, oh crap, or was it like, okay, I've got this?
I was scared, but I was literally like, okay, I've got this, because I always knew that I was going to be a mom, and so I was like, okay, like, I'm not getting rid of my child. Like, I could never do that, and there is no shame. Like, I am totally pro-choice. Like, you do what's best for your body, but I could never do that. And so, yeah, I was just kind of like, okay, like, if he's really going to leave me, then he'll leave me. And so I went up to Greeley and we talked about it, and I told him, I was like, well, I'm not giving the baby up, I'm keeping the baby. And he literally said, okay, then let's do this. And that was that, and literally we're here 3 years later. So I mean,
Were you shocked when you said that?
I was totally shocked, and I was so convinced throughout my whole pregnancy that he was going to leave me, because like we didn't know each other, you know, like we had to get to know each other while like I was pregnant, you know. And but yeah, no, like super blessed.
Right.
Super blessed, because I know that a lot of times the situation does not turn out like that. So, and he literally fell into it so perfectly. Like that's what he was made to do, was be a dad. So, yeah, he's
Just
amazing.
stepped up.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
super.
he's so good with Adelina. I am asking you this because like I'm genuinely interested, because if you guys watching don't know, I also am, well, I'm 22, but I have a...
Oh, I didn't know that.
My birthday was in October.
Oh,
So
dude, yes, I totally knew this. Sorry, I guess. Sorry, guys. I'm
So
a good friend.
I just turned 22, so
Right.
I got pregnant when I was 18, but I had my 2.5-year-old when I was 19. So I'm in the same situation. So I'm interested to know what you think it's like now being a parent to a toddler while everyone else is being a regular 21-year-old.
So sometimes I would say it's hard, because when you have a kid, selfishness goes out the window. Like, you cannot be selfish at all. Like, you just can't be selfish. So that part's like a little bit hard, because sometimes I see, you know, people getting their nails done whenever they want, or, you know what I mean? Just like going shopping, or like going to Ross, or just doing whatever they want. And I'm like, oh, man, like I used to do that. Like, you know what I mean? Not even like spend money like stupidly, but just like spend it on myself.
Yeah.
And now I can't do that. So that would be, I would say, like, probably honestly for me, like the only thing that's like hard is like not being able to be like super selfish like I used to be. But I was never into, like, even when I graduated high school, I never wanted to go to like a big college and party. That just wasn't me. And so that aspect, like, I'm really like, okay, like, not for me. And there's no shame, like, in people that are in that lifestyle. Like, that's awesome, and live the shit out of it, because, you know what I mean? Like, that's awesome. Like, you're only this young once.
That's like just not you.
That's just not who like I was, right? And so I've always been like an introvert and just kind of like, I don't know.
So that part of it, like the party part, the going out every night, like that doesn't bother you.
Yeah, and I can't drink because I get so sick so easily. So I'm like,
So it doesn't even really matter.
It doesn't even like really matter. Like, yeah, sometimes it sucks when, we're in the house at like 10 o'clock and I'm like, oh, like I want to go out, or, I want to go, out with
even
friends.
If you just wanted to like go out and get ice cream by yourself, you can't because like Adelina's asleep, right?
Right, exactly. So like those parts, like just like the selfish part, like because you can't be selfish. So I would say that part's hard, but
that's it. Okay. So how has your daughter shaped your life in a different way than it would have been without her? How has she directed you?
So
or not?
I would say that before I had Adelina, I was almost like okay with like living like an average life. Like I had a major and I don't know, like I wasn't like super passionate about school. I was like, whatever, like I don't know, I just like I had no drive, like I had no like drive to like create my own life type thing. Like I just didn't really know, and we never really know like what's gonna happen with our lives and what we're gonna end up doing. But I don't know, I was just like kind of okay with being average, and now that I have her, I'm like, oh my god, like I have a little human like looking up to me, and like what do I want her to see? Like do I want her to see someone who like half-asses everything, or someone who is like too scared to go chase their dreams, or do you know what I mean? I don't want her to see that. And so she has definitely instilled like this fire in me that like I never thought I have. Like I look at you and I'm like, oh my god, like she has so much drive. Like you do so much and you have so much drive to always do everything. I'm not kidding. And so when I see you, I'm like, wow, like Adelina is helping me be more like Nicole, and not like I'm trying to like embody you, but you know what I mean? Like,
thank you.
She has instilled the drive that, you've talked about, you always have, because she played volleyball. I'm sure you guys all know this. Like, played volleyball, super into sports, and super competitive, all of that stuff. And so it's like she instilled in me that passion for success that I don't know.
That you didn't have
that I didn't have, right, yeah.
So she has absolutely pushed you just to be like a better person.
Yeah, 100%.
That's awesome. So has like your dreams and the direction of your life, like your specific life goals changed since having her?
100%. I went into college majoring in early childhood education, and I still love that. Like I always say, I'm like, I have so many ideas in my head of like what I would love to do. Like I'd love to be a personal trainer and a nutritionist, and I'd love to be a teacher, and like all these like different ideas. But yeah, I went in with that major, and like I said, I think I just kind of like went into that major because I don't know, not that like it's easy. I'm not saying that like early childhood education is easy, but it was just like something that I was just kind of like, okay, like I can do that, and I've worked in daycares my whole life, so like I'll be good at that. And I was really good at it, but I wasn't like passionate about it. And so yeah, I just have like way bigger dreams now.
That's
way
awesome.
bigger dreams.
So what made you decide to keep going to school even after you had Adelina, and did you ever have a moment where you thought about not going to school?
Yes, all the time. Still, sometimes I'm like, oh, like I don't want to do it, because it's not like just going to school, like, because you have to be a mom, and like I'm dealing with the diabetes, and yeah, the mom thing is like literally a 24/7 job, so it's super hard. Like when she was first born, I was obviously able to like, she slept all the time and like she didn't move, so I was able to like do homework, and now like I cannot do homework like at all. And like sometimes it's hard during nap time because I'm like, oh, like should I do homework, or should I like make dinner, or should I, be doing laundry, so it's like, it's very hard to like find that balance. But I would say I was already doing it, so I was like, well, I just didn't know what else I was gonna do, to be honest with you. Like, I figured I either needed to go to school or I needed to do something else. And I was like, well, I'm in school, so I might as well finish. And yeah, I just like, I guess too, I want my daughter to be proud of me and say, hey, like my mom had all of these obstacles, but she pushed through and like she did it. So yeah, that's, and I'm literally,
So just to show,
like just to like show her, yeah, and just to finish, because I'm like,
you're already doing it.
Like I'm already doing it, so I'm like,
Right.
I don't want to quit,
Yeah. How have you made it possible to keep going to school with everything else you have going in, like on in your life?
Online, I would definitely say, because for a while there, I was like trying to still go down on campus, and that was just way overwhelming. Like if I would have continued to do that, I really would have had to drop out because it's hard to like find the consistent babysitting, and my mom and my family is so helpful. But you know, like they have their own lives too, and to dedicate to make sure that they have, you know, 3 to 5 hours every single Tuesday, you know, and sometimes it's 2 days a week, so sometimes that's 6 hours a week, you know, that they have to make sure that they're not doing anything. It was just like, you know, too much of, I didn't want to ask them to do that, and yeah, it's just like hard going down on campus.
So what's the timeline for your major and now like your minor?
So before I declared my minor, I was like 70% done, so I was like, oh yes, like I'm almost done, and then I declared my minor, and that set me back quite a bit because, you know, like you have to take those classes in addition. So I don't really know my timeline, to be honest with you, because I just because of my anxiety and where I'm at with my life, I only take two to three classes a semester max, which is like way less than like what everybody else takes. You know, like they're taking like, you know, 5 and 6 classes a semester. So I don't know, I would say like I've got another like 2.5 years, and sometimes that's hard to deal with because I see people that we went to high school with and they're graduating, or they, you know, they're going to graduate, and I'm just like, oh, like wow. But I'm also like, hey, like I'm still here and I haven't quit, and I'll graduate and it'll be cool. Like
the thing that when I think about timelines, because I really am into fitness and like that kind of thing is just something that you have to take a lot of time with.
Right.
Anything that has a long timeline, my thought process is always the time is going to pass anyway.
Right.
So no matter what, the time is going to pass. Right. So in 2.5 years, because it's going to come, do you want to have that or do you not want to have that?
That's, yeah, I never thought of it like that. Yep.
I mean, you may as well do something positive for yourself. It's going to happen anyway.
It's going to happen. The time will pass. Wow, girl, I'm going to start using that. I really like that. The time will pass. Yep.
Yeah, no matter what.
No matter what.
So let's jump into the fitness aspect of your life, which is a huge part of her Instagram and her Facebook, if you guys don't follow her. But how do you find the time to work out with having a 2-year-old going to school and having a disease that you can't control?
So I would say I don't find the time, I make the time, because it is something that is so important to me, and it really helps my mental health so much to work out, and it's just like that me time. It's something for myself. So I have to like make the time. So if that means getting up, and you know, because you're up every single day, like before Nate leaves for work, like you make the time, because if it's something that you really want, then you will just like make the time. So, you know, I will just get up like an hour or two before Junior goes and leaves for work, and then I can work out, and then I can spend an hour getting ready and listening to a podcast, or, you know, like whatever I want to do, and that's my time. So I make sure that I make time for that, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, like.
I do know.
Yeah.
Your morning sounds just like my morning, literally. What are your future plans in regards to health and fitness? Where do you want to take it?
I would say future plans are to just continue to work on loving my body the way that it is right now, because I know I talked about struggling with like an eating disorder, and that just kind of like makes you struggle with like body image and all that. So I would say just like viewing health and fitness not as like I need to do this, but like I want to do this because it makes me feel good, not because I need to look a certain way or I need to lose this weight, or you know what I mean? Like I just do it because I feel good. So I think just continuing on with that mindset and working towards that. And I would say I'm not certified as a personal trainer or nutritionist like Nicole is, but just being able to like help other people, and especially people with type 1 diabetes, understand how much of a positive effect it can have on your entire life, not just your physical being, but your mental and your emotional and just everything that comes from taking care of your body. Right. So, I mean, yeah.
Not that you're like punishing yourself for it, but doing it because you know that it's gonna help you.
Yeah, like there's so many benefits, more than just like physically looking good or you know, physically feeling good, you know.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think just making people aware.
That's awesome. I want to talk about this new job that you got.
Right.
So you got this new job. Can you tell me more about it? Why you chose to do it, even though you have so much going on already?
So what I'm doing is I'm actually a coach with BeachBody, and before anybody like rolls their eyes and you know whatever, I was super skeptical before I signed up as a coach, because BeachBody is also partnered with Shakeology, and you hear other companies, you know, Herbalife, and I don't know like any of like the other companies. That's the only other one that I really know of. But I know that there's a ton of companies, fitness companies that have their own shake, and so I was like, you know, like is this just another company? And two, being a type 1 diabetic, I have to be like hyper aware of like what I'm putting into my body, so I can't just like drink a shake. Like I have to know what's going into it, like how much sugar is in it, how many carbs is in it, you know, stuff like that. And my mentor, she was actually amazing, because I told her, I was like, look, like I have type 1 diabetes, I don't know if this will work for me. And she took the time and researched herself and sent me articles, she sent me research pages, a bunch of videos on YouTube about these shakes and type 1 diabetes, and everything was like amazingly positive. Like I could not find one negative thing, so I was like, wow. And I've talked about how much I struggle with my blood sugar, so I was like, okay, like I'm not saying it's gonna cure my diabetes and completely take everything away, but like if it's something that will help, then like why not? And what's super cool is when you sign on as a coach, or like when you just sign on or whatever, you're getting like a Netflix for workouts. So I'm like, what? Like,
Right.
yes, please, you know? And so that just kind of like takes the need to like always go to the gym away, because like then I have zero excuses, because it's right on my phone, right on my computer. And like I love health and fitness so much, and I sit there and I talk on my phone to Instagram all day anyways, and like that's how I would make a living, is like changing other people's lives, and like I said, just like getting them to see the benefit of living a healthy lifestyle. I started doing it just because I was feeling very lonely in my health and fitness journey, because I feel like obviously the motivation and the drive to do things that you need to do comes from within. It comes from within yourself, and at the end of the day, you have to make those choices. However, sometimes like it's just hard, like you get lonely, or like, man.
But motivation comes and goes, and
Yeah.
it's supposed to. You're not supposed to be 100% motivated
Right.
all the time, so where are you when you don't have that motivation? And that's
Exactly.
kind of what you're looking to fill, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's been like super, super fun. So, I mean, I love it, and I mean, obviously there's gonna be people that say, oh, you know, I had actually someone say a very rude comment to me that I was just trying to make her, just make a sale off of her. And I'm like, well, no, like I, first of all, would never, ever, 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 ever promote a product that I don't 100% believe in.
Mm-hmm.
And being a type 1 diabetic, like I can't be that person, you know,
Yeah.
because like if it doesn't work, then I can't be like, yes, please
Yeah.
use this product. But I really believe in just all the positive changes that I've seen in my life in the little bit of time that I've been doing it. So
Right. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So do people sign up through you, or how does that work?
so people, yeah, so what they decide to do is you can either decide that you want to try the shake, or you want to try the BeachBody On Demand. And I always tell people that, because I feel like sometimes to say you need to buy the shake and you need to do the workout, people are like, you know,
That's a lot.
that could be kind of overwhelming. Obviously, the best option is to do the workouts and the shake, because you'll see the most benefit. But I never want to like force people and like push. So then we talk about your goals and where you want to be, and which is like super important to me, because I don't want people to feel like, again, like I'm just trying to make a sale. Like I want to help you change your life.
Mm-hmm.
So like let's talk about your goals, let's talk about like what you've done and why that hasn't worked, and where you want to see yourself, and you know, just like all those things like you say, because you know, you're a personal trainer, and you've always said like it's so much more than like me just like getting you in shape. Like I want
Yeah.
to talk about like you, because it really is like it's like emotional, you know. So like if
yeah.
you can get down to like the nitty gritty emotional piece, then you know, like you can really help people.
Well, it's important to know like why they got in that physical shape, or whatever you want to
Right.
call it in the first place, because
Right.
it's your body really is just an accumulation of what is going on up here. And so
Right.
if you don't know what's going on up here, you
Right.
can't actually fix what's going on up here.
100%.
All right, so now I've just got a couple like overall tied together questions,
Okay.
just that kind of to tie in what Cydney's all about. So you managed to try, well, you try and you do, I don't want to make it sound like you don't, but you managed to stay so positive
Right.
through everything that we've talked about.
Right.
And I know that you struggle sometimes, but
Right.
how do you stay so positive?
I try to stay positive by just realizing, like I said before, that whatever I'm dealing with is happening to me for a reason. And so, like, not to sound blunt, but it's like my dad died for a reason, and I got the diabetes for a reason. and I'm struggling with my blood sugars right now for a reason. And so that just kind of keeps me positive. I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna use this shit one day. Like I'm gonna use it to like tell my story, and it's gonna resonate with somebody, and I'm gonna change someone's life, even if it's just one. Because it's very hard to stay positive. Like even without like everything that I've going on. Like I know for you, everybody, it's hard to stay positive sometimes.
When
you know,
crap hits the fan,
Yeah.
you just want to like find a corner. I don't know about anybody else, but you want to find a corner and just like walk the world out sometimes.
Yep. And so yeah, I think just remembering that whatever you're going through, you're gonna use one day. So just keep going.
The last question. So what do you wish that you could have told yourself 4 years ago?
4 years ago, I wish I would have known. I wish I would have known how awesome of a person I was. And I wish I would have known that I don't need to settle. Yeah, because I was in a very negative relationship, and I clearly remember at one point thinking like, okay, like this is the best my life is gonna get, and I'm gonna have to deal with it, and it'll be fine. Like I said, like I was just like okay with being average, so I was like, whatever, like this is just how it is. And obviously, like I'm not in that relationship anymore, and I did realize, but I think I wish I would have realized way sooner how awesome of a person I am and how okay it is being alone. Because I feel like women struggle sometimes with being alone, especially like in high school, you know, like just so worried about, oh my God, like if a boy doesn't like me, you know.
Fitting in with other girls, not wanting to be alone, or not having a boyfriend and not wanting to be alone.
Yeah, just things like that. So I wish that, yeah, I just would have known, like.
It's okay to
Yeah.
like work on yourself.
Yes, 100%. Like, girls, it's okay to like be alone and like work on yourself. Like you don't need a man. Like, okay, men are great and all, but like let me tell you, like you don't need them.
Yeah.
Like you don't need them at the end of the day, because like women are so powerful. Like we make babies and we have babies. Like what do men do? You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day,
I don't see them.
like,
Yeah.
you don't
I'm
see them
with you.
doing that.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, and I wish I just would have known that everything that I was worried about then didn't matter. Like the things that, you know, were so
The bigger picture.
Yeah, like in the bigger picture, you know. So
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Cydney,
Yeah,
for
thank
taking
you for
so
having
much
me.
time
That was so much
for
fun.
like letting me interview you, and like we got, you know, really deep a couple times, but I really hope that it's gonna resonate with a lot of you guys. I hope that everybody takes something away from this.
Yeah.
And I hope this is the first episode of a lot of episodes. to
Yes,
come.
I'm super excited. It's gonna be awesome. I'm
Amazing.
super excited to see who you have.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Bye, guys. Thanks.